sweet potato. Do sweet potato. Sweet potato. Guys, spring is springing. It hasn't sprung yet, but it's springing, which means it's time to talk about sweet potatoes. It's time to get your sweet potatoes started, people. Today we're talking about step one of growing your own sweet potatoes, which is to buy your potatoes. Now, in an ideal world, I would have saved some of my harvest from last year, but they're just too good. I had to eat them, you know? So here we are. If you didn't save any sweet potatoes from last year, or you simply have never grown your own sweet potatoes before, I recommend getting them at natural grocers. The reason I like getting them there is because I know that they are 100% organic. Organic is extremely important in growing your own potatoes because when they're conventionally grown potatoes and lathered in pesticides and chemicals, they often won't sprout. So it is very important that you buy organic potatoes. And I can 100% put my trust in natural grocers, which is why I buy them there. A bit of a quick timeline. You want to start your potatoes around mid-March so that you can have a plant date of around mid-May. It will take roughly 6 weeks for your potatoes to grow sweet potato slips, and then it'll take an additional 2 weeks for those sweet potato slips to grow roots, which can then be transplanted and planted in your garden. And finally, we will have a harvest date of late September to like mid-late October, but we will talk about that at a later date. Today, I'm going to show you which potatoes I chose. First, I chose some Stokes purple sweet potatoes. These are purple flesh and purple skin. Next, I chose Japanese sweet potatoes. These are like a purple reddish tint and they're white on the inside. Absolutely delicious. Next, I chose Garnet sweet potatoes, which are reddish purple on the outside and they are bright orange on the inside. And lastly, my favorite, these are Jersey sweet potatoes. There are also Hannah sweet potatoes, which are very similar, but they are white on the outside and white on the inside, and they are the sweetest, most delicious sweet potato you will ever have. Obviously, I got multiples of each because we're growing a lot of potatoes up in here this year. Okay? Step 2 of growing your own sweet potatoes is to prepare them to start growing sweet potato slips. Just a couple tips before we get started with the tutorial. You're gonna wanna get a bunch of glass jars that will fit your potatoes. Essentially, you're just gonna be putting the potato in the water and then your slips will grow here, which is what you will be removing at a later date to root and then plant, but we will talk about that at a different time. Make sure you do at least one of each potato because they do have a tendency sometimes to rot in the jar, and you want to make sure that your potato sprout slips so that you can plant it, so that you can have potatoes. So always make sure to do at least 2 of the same potato type. Do not use chlorinated water. Use filtered water or spring water or well water. Well water would be amazing. Unfortunately, I don't have that option here. Just don't use chlorinated water. You're also going to want to change your water every 10 to 14 days and just keep your eye on it that it isn't rotting because they get stinky. Like I said in the last video, the potatoes will take about 6 weeks to sprout slips long enough for you to be able to remove. The last thing I want to mention is the shape of the potato. So this is where the root is. The skinnier portion of the potato is where it was rooted. Putting the thin, more slender portion in here will allow more space for the roots to grow around it. And then this thicker portion up here will allow for more slips to grow. If you place it this opposite way, you don't have as much room for slips to grow. And we want a lot of slips because we want to plant a lot of potatoes. Okay, let's get started. As you can see, the first thing I've done is make sure that all of these potatoes fit in a jar. Next, it's time to wash the potatoes. I just do a simple wash with my hands because I don't want to break the skin by using something abrasive, like a brush. And the reason I do it is so that the water doesn't get all dingy. That's it. The next thing we need to do is very simple. You're just going to need some toothpicks And you're just going to need to prop these up out of the jar a little bit so that it does have room for the roots to grow. So if you can see this, I'm gonna do about an inch out of the water, and then I'm just gonna stab these potatoes in like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and do 4. You can do 3 or 4 toothpicks, whatever floats your boat, whatever trips your trigger. Just like so. So now this has a little bit of room for the roots to grow. It's submerged in the water so that it can grow beautiful slips for you. I'm just going to repeat this with the rest of them. Let's get you a closer shot. Now that they've all been poked, it is time to fill them with water. Now these toothpicks are a very, very important part because you want to make sure that you're giving your potato enough room to grow its roots. Very important. And now we're just going to fill with water. Okay, I'm just gonna finish filling these up and I will show you where I put them when I am finished. This is where I put my sweet potatoes. I did put it on a rolly cart so I can roll it into the sunshine if I want to, but I'm gonna be honest, I probably won't do that. However, I did put it on a baking sheet, which is really nice because you can just lift this and put this anywhere. But beware, it is heavy. And this is where it is in reference to my kitchen. In about 3 weeks, I will come back to you with another video on their progress, but in the meantime, keep a lookout in my stories, and I'll be showing you when they start sprouting roots and slips, and it will be very exciting.